Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again here with part 3 of my reaction to the Australian story, The Last Commando, part 1 of 2, in regards to Mr. Cameron Baird, VC MG. So let's jump back in.
There is a gap in the collective communal understanding of the war on terror and Australia's part within that war.
Yeah, children moving left to right.
But for over 10 years now, young Australian men and women have been prepared to go to another country so that that country couldn't be used as a place where people would train to launch attacks on our way of life. And we probably don't realise that.
Well, for 2 Commando Regiment, our experience in Afghanistan has been enduring. We've had 20 rotations, and a rotation ranges from about 4 to 6, 7, 8 months. Unfortunately, we've had to share our part of Australia's casualties. We've had 12 commandos killed in action, and unfortunately we've suffered one killed in action whilst preparing for deployment.
Australia's Special Forces units have the longest presence in Australia's longest war. I went to Afghanistan to do a documentary tour of duty and feel to this day some gratitude towards Cam, because he was one of the ones who thought, well, he's here to do his job, you know, we might as well help him.
Protection, let's go, facing that way.
At the end of the day, we're just everyday people. We come to work, we do our work, and then we go home to our families. It's not like the movies. We do a job and we just get on with the job.
The commandos had been in Afghanistan since 2005.
Stand by.
Just going back, just going to go back here. And you look at that, right? People that may not have, or even those that do have military experience, but the trust that is there with that, the awareness of this particular prosecution of a target, or whatever their target package is or mission is, to go towards there. There's an enemy threat. He's got one of his mates right in front. The guy that's right in front knows that his mates are behind him, knows that they're going to put down rounds, or more than likely knows that they're going to put down rounds, may not even know. But just the bond and the connection and the trust that you, and the belief that you have in your team is just, I've never experienced it anywhere outside of the Defence Force. And never have I experienced it more so personally than within the Special Air Service. And so seeing the guys here, the 2 Commando, the selection process that they go through to get to where they are, to the extremely high standards that they hold themselves to and each other to, it's a real reassuring, comforting feeling as an operator when you go into battle. And that's not people looking at that, it just stands out to me. Like it's an everyday thing in terms of the work and the type of training that you do it that often as an operator, that you do develop that trust and that brotherhood, like I mentioned, that bond, etc. But for anybody that's watching that doesn't realize, or that may not have an understanding, hopefully that just sort of, I probably haven't explained it that well, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of an insight. And it's a beautiful thing to be a part of.
The commandos had been in Afghanistan since 2005.
Stand by for fire support.
They're the sharp end of the spear. They do the hard fighting.
Let's go.
And of course it is so different to the battlefields that we know well from Gallipoli and Tobruk, etc.
Mate, we've got contact to our right and contact to our left.
This is a battlefield that occupies a human space where you don't know the difference between a farmer with a rifle and an insurgent. They might be one and the same thing.
And that's the challenge, eh? So, I agree with what this guy Masters is talking about here, and the challenges and the complexities of going into a place like this. the guerrilla warfare type tactics and all that sort of stuff. The lay of the land, the terrain, the understanding the advantage sits with the locals. Whether we might call them, a ragtag bunch of rebels or not, like they know that land, they know the people, they know the habits and traits of what the locals do, and then in an instant, they could be attacking you or attacking the operators here in this case, constantly on their toes, unsure of who's friend or foe. And then if they're being overwhelmed, if the enemy is being overwhelmed by, here in this case, by 2 commando operators or other forces, then they can just ditch their gear and then just be hands up. No, I'm a farmer. I'm just a farmer. I'm just here, just tilling my ground. It's a tough space. And so those people that haven't been there, I guess, is just, there's so much more to factor in and to consider, especially when you're seeing footage of what appears to be, like in the past, there's some other stuff, what appears to be somebody that the media is portraying as somebody who's murdering an innocent farmer or civilian. There is a heck of a lot more at play. And if I wasn't there and if you weren't there, it's not for us to be the judge and jury. It's not for, this is just my opinion, I don't think it's right for the media to then portray that in a way whereby people come to the conclusions and then despise the military or despise individuals within the military, which then flows on to not only the individuals, but then potentially their family, etc. It affects their mental health and well-being, especially for those that have been there. And that's the piece that I don't think media understand or respect enough. They banter around and talk enough about, and sorry for getting on my high horse here, they talk about the public deserves to know and they need to know and they want to know, etc., etc. What I would say is, mate, if the public want to know, go fill out the form, join the Defence Force, and then go deploy on operations. That's what I would say if you want to know. For the public, for the media, you have a huge responsibility. And I don't know that all of yous take that responsibility the way that you should, in terms of trying to be mindful and respectful of the ongoing impacts that you have, not only just in the immediate moment, whether it makes you famous or whether it gets you a promotion within your job within the television media organization. I don't know. I don't particularly care. But what you potentially do and cause to other people through your perception and portrayal and delivery of your version of the truth of what's happening, that has huge implications. And it's heartbreaking for those that struggle, that aren't able to get back, that aren't able to step back into the light, so to speak, because they've already felt judged. And yeah, it's just hard. We've lost so many people through the mental health space and suicide, and it's not fair, is what I would say. So there's a fair bit of responsibility. You've got a lot of power, the media, to influence and sway people's decisions and perceptions of things, just through what you show and through what you don't show. Okay, so those things are really important. What you show and what you don't show has a huge impact on those individuals affected, their families, their units, their brothers in arms, the Defence Force as a whole, and on that country. So if you're looking to divide the country, you do a pretty good job, is what I would say. Rather than uniting it and using that power for good, it seems to be focused more on dividing the country and meeting somewhat personal or organizational agendas. Anyway, that's my rant on that. I better get back to this.
So discriminating between friend and foe in a circumstance like that is extraordinarily difficult.
In regards to searching of people, I think you need to take it in a very humane way. First of all, you want to deal with any threat. You quick pat down to make sure they don't have a weapon, and then you take a step back. You treat them how you would want to be treated if you were going to be searched.
I think it's essential for you to maintain a sense of humanity
when you're conducting combat operations. It can be very chaotic. Some civilians will run and just run straight through the middle of an engagement area. A lot of times it's more important the shot that you don't take as opposed to the shot that you do take.
I love the comments from these men. I think Corporal Baird, rest in peace, might have been one of the first voices that we heard about the conduct of searching people and treating people the way that you would want to be treated if you were being searched. Yes, it's a conflict area. Yes, it's a war zone. But I loved also the comments, I think that was the Sergeant J may have been. He said the importance to maintain a level of, or to maintain the humanity aspect of it. You know, war is not a pretty place, and it leads to a lot of death and carnage and things that, you know, probably could have been sorted out over a cup of tea or a Milo or whatever it is that, you know, if you sat down and were able to come to the table and have a conversation. Possibly, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents or my thoughts on that. But when you're going into these environments and then you've got to switch and be on high alert all the time, it can be hard to dial that back down, and it can be hard at times to be conscious of the fact that, hey, not everybody is a threat. Not everybody is running around as an insurgent or Taliban and then dropping their gear and then pretending to be a civilian, a worker, a farmer or whatever. But it still doesn't make it any easier. But I love what the comments that these guys have just shared.
The commandos were in the thick of the fighting, and some very intense fighting, and often against a very competent insurgent force. Luke Worsley, of course, was the first commando killed in action, and he was with Cam Baird and some others. This is another one of these battles fought in a human space where a woman picks up a weapon. You can hear children crying in the background.
It was the 22nd of November 2007. It was sort of early evening. We'd received new orders to basically move to this area. There were some guys there that were manufacturing IEDs, which means basically it was a bomb-making facility. They were members of the Taliban.
Our team commander got pretty seriously ill. So Cam stepped up. That was his first operation as a team commander.
It was an operation at night into a enemy location. We made entry and there was a significant firefight within the compound.
We were engaged by a machine gun. And then there was somebody from another side that had opened up with an AK-47, and they just continued firing in towards that entry point. It's called the fatal funnel. When you come in through a doorway, like people generally direct their fire into the doorway because they know that's where people come in. One of our team members, Luke Worsley, was one of the first guys in. As he came in, he actually identified where the fire was coming from, and he was able to give us a target indication. And then, unfortunately, he's been killed. What happened next? There was a lot of dust, a lot more fire. Cameron had identified that there was a bloke that was down. He's called out man down, man down. And Cameron, myself, and another operator, we basically went over and we picked Luke up. We dragged him back out through the entry point of the compound. Once that handover was complete, that's when Cameron made his way back into the compound and basically sort of took charge of his team.
I wasn't too sure exactly what was happening, but Cam, the speed in which he got to handle the situation, it's just unbelievable. He was able to give an accurate indication of where, this fire was coming from. He went in front of the team. He, threw grenades. He was firing his weapon. He was telling us where to go. It was just amazing,
He ended up neutralising a couple of the enemy threats, and which resulted in the compound being secured. Yeah.
awesome, Cam, and awesome to hear his mates, his brothers, speak about him and the way he took charge of that. What he saw, tragic in terms of the loss of their brother Worsley, I think. Rest in peace to him as well. But man, it's that's the stuff that we don't see, right? We're not there, and we're not involved in it, and we're far from it, and we get to enjoy, some of the peace and comforts and tranquility, for want of a better term, here in our space with our family, within the safety of our homes. While guys like Cam and his team members here, 2 Commando and other units around the world, go in to try to make the world a better place. That's what they're trying to do. That's my take on it anyway, and that's a big part of why I joined, and I think that's a big part of why anybody joins, particularly the SF. They're wanting to try to, deep down and at the forefront of your heart and mind, you're wanting to try to make the world a better place. And if that means you end up losing yours in the process, we will never know the impact that Cam's sacrifice and many others' sacrifices that they've made. We'll never be able to comprehend or understand what sort of impact that has had and the difference that they have made and what they've done on both sides, right? On both sides.
Another member of my team manoeuvred through the firefight to actually get to a baby, a newborn baby, and manoeuvred that baby out of the firefight to ensure its safety.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for...
There were civilian casualties that night, as is commonly the case when these compounds are raided.
2 females and an infant child were killed during the operation.
There was quite a lot of detail revealing that in the inquiry into the loss of Luke Worsley.
Private Worsley and the remainder of his commando team displayed remarkable adherence to their rules of engagement in a protracted...
They have to make the ultimate decision to take somebody's life. And they then have to live with that. And they do it within all the boundaries and restraints that are put on them.
That a more detailed commission of inquiry is not warranted.
At the end of the day, they still got to come home to people they love and live with the fact they've taken another human being's life and be with them for the rest of their lives, wherever they may go. The impact can be truly profound when they see a friend killed in action.
Cameron had been in a long-term relationship. He was actually married.
We thought that this may well be Cameron's last major deployment over there.
Throughout the morning, the fighting escalated.
Something drastically had to happen. I saw Cam charging the door. Just charged it, weapon up in his shoulder.
And I opened the door and I knew straight away that what it was.
The 100th Victoria Cross has been awarded to an Australian.
I remember every minute of that occasion and the deep privilege that I felt in holding that Victoria Cross.
He'd probably be embarrassed about accepting it, but what he did got me out of there and saved my life and the others in the platoon.
Incredible, Cam. Massive respect to you, brother, and to your comrades, to your brothers that you served with, the lives that you saved, including the ones that you weren't able to but tried your best to get there. You and your team, 100% you and your team. Really enjoying, as sad as it is, I'm enjoying trying to react to the words that are shared by those that knew him best, especially when his family speak, when his brothers speak that he served with, just to hear the acknowledgements and the reverence that they have for him clearly warranted, clearly deserved, and it's just sad that we don't have Corporal Baird still with us present physically. I mean, in terms of the knowledge and experience, the courage, the bravery, the inspiration that he would be to the next generation of being going through. And even through this, he's still inspiring people to want to go and serve in this unit. Whether the parents like it or not, people like Cameron Baird are inspiring the next generation of operators to go to 2 Commando or to other Special Forces units around the world. So respect and love to the Baird family. Rest in peace, brother Corporal Cameron Baird, VCMG. I'll get to part 2 probably in the coming days as we go. And just got a few other things to do at the moment, but we'll not forget about this. We'll come back and I will complete and close out the reaction to part 2 on Corporal Cameron Baird, VCMG. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time, for your patience in listening to my rant earlier in and around media and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I went off on a bit of a tangent there, so I don't know if it sits in well with this reaction, but I'm going to leave it as it is and just try to edit out where the ads showed up on the video itself. But appreciate your time, mate. Thank you for the encouragement, the kind comments. Thank you for whatever it is. Even if you don't comment, don't feel like you have to comment. Just appreciate anything that, your time here on the channel does sincerely mean the world to me. So thank you. As always, anybody going through challenges, dark times, trials, struggles, whatever those things are, we are all going through them. You are not alone. I'm no exception. Every single one of us, everybody that you know has got some challenges. They may be different in weight or perspective in terms of what those burdens and weights and challenges are, but they're nonetheless important and they're difficult, and people are having to try to find ways to navigate their way through those. So my encouragement to anybody in that space is to just keep turning up, just stay in the fight, to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and know and trust that the sun will shine again, that there are better days ahead, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, even though we can't see it just yet. Just keep turning up, stay consistent, stay disciplined. I guarantee you'll get into that light soon enough. With that being said, remember, go always a little further. Who dares wins. And as always, until the next video, from me to you, a big mana wave filled with my aroha, my respect, my appreciation and gratitude for each of you.